Merry Meet. This is Echo with the Silver Moon Crow Coven again. Today I am setting up my altar. See, it's been a little while since I've been able to keep an altar because of recent real life circumstances. So I hope everybody can see okay. See the shelves. I happen to be staying in one of the upstairs rooms at the Coven Stead. The walls aren't black, they're a dark blue. This is formerly a meditation chamber. Now, you'll notice that I have the sloped roof to contend with, so I can't hang shelves. But we do have this nice convenient cubby on the north wall. So I'm going to start with the very basics of preparing the space and laying out my altar. I may have to interrupt recording once or twice if I can't find everything to get it all set up. I tried really hard to make certain that I was prepared. So I went through with a domestic cleaner, with a regular cleaner, to make certain that it was sanitary. I'm allergic to bleach, as well as a lot of other cleaners, so I have to be very careful about the products that I use. Normally I would have just gone over it with vinegar, but it had about a year and a half worth of dust in the cubby. I wanted to make certain that it was really clean. Now, when you're dealing with your clean space, the first thing you do after you have it physically clean is you make certain that it's spiritually clean as well. So to do that, I start with salt and water. This is my water dish. It's a large scallop shell, or a lion paw scallop shell. This one I purchased off the internet. It came from the Florida Keys. I'm in Utah, a little bit away from the ocean. So this is my salt. The salt comes much more locally. This was ritually harvested by the Silver Moon Crow Coven from the Bonneville Salt Flats here in Utah. And water. This cruet contains water from a natural spring here in Utah that was harvested at the autumn equinox. Trying to make certain that you guys can see. You don't need a whole lot of water. Think maybe 2 or 3 tablespoons, because the space is already clean. And this is the equivalent to 3 pinches of salt. 3 being a very magical number. We use it in a lot of what we do around. I'm stirring it DSO to bring in all the positive energy. And I'm not using any necessary invocation in the creation of my holy water. I'm just focusing my energy into it with my intense sacred space. Now, if anyone feels generous, I would really love an asperger. Those little silver ones they use at the Catholic Church. Love one. I'm using a clean white cloth. May look a little scummy, it's just stained. And I'm moving widdershins as I wipe, moving in widdershin circle to draw out any negative energy that may have somehow permeated into the shelves themselves. Don't forget the walls, because every part of this is now part of your sacred space. As you see, I used all 3 tablespoons. And all the salt has now been used to thoroughly cleanse on a spiritual level the space that I'm going to be using as my altar. Having cleansed with salt and water, the next step is to use a smudge stick. Now for my smudge, I'm using lavender. Now this is a smudge stick that I bound myself. You can see the loose end. But I'm going to read something that I have on lavender, aside from this room being my bedroom for the time being. Lavender is used as an invitation to spirits, because I'm trying to draw in the positive energy rather than banishing anything that's actually existing. That's what, so it was an herb used in mummification. I'm just going to read over this really quick. Lavender was native to Europe and is often used in the invitation of spirits. The name may be derived from the Latin lavare, meaning to wash, or lavandula, meaning bluish. In ancient times, lavender was an important herb used in mummification. There is a legend that the clothing of the baby Jesus was laid upon lavender bush and acquired the fragrance. Some Christians still regard the scent of lavender as a safeguard against evil. Burning lavender is best done on charcoal tablets, but I'm using a smudge. Now, normally I'd recommend that you have some sort of ash catcher when doing this. I'm not going to worry about that today. I also normally light it off with a candle. But give me just a moment, I'm going to turn off the ceiling fan. I wish you could smell this. I'm not going to worry about getting it really going because I'm using it in such a small space. I don't need that much in the way of fumes. And smudged. That easy. Popping that on the edge of my desk, it'll smolder itself out in a minute. Smudge sticks generally don't burn very long unless you keep encouraging them. So now I have cleansed and kind of imbued. But the next thing to go in is my altar cloth. This is probably the oldest altar cloth I have. I don't know if you can see it. It's got little tiny suns and moons all over it and pentacles. My dad bought this for me when I think I was 16. You'll know him if you look on the Coven page of the silvermooncrow.com. He is Brackenwolf. So, I'm going to fold it over a little bit. And I'm going to put the open side towards the back of the cubby. See, I've arranged my altar cloth to have a little bit of space over the edge and to go up a little bit on the wall. You notice it doesn't reach all the way back into my alcove. That, to me, is okay. I don't tend to be a perfectionist unless I'm setting up a formal altar. This is very much just for me, and I'll enjoy it whether or not it's perfect. So, after the altar cloth, the next thing I put on is the pentacle. Now, this pentacle was carved by a former member of the Silver Moon Crow Coven. May he be enjoying himself greatly in the Summerland. Greyhawk, I should say. Greyhawk was Angwin's father and one of the founding members of the Silver Moon Crow Coven. Now you'll notice I did not lay it flat. I hope you can see that I propped it against where the roof slopes. And that to me does need to be centered. So now, a little something that most people don't have, and probably wouldn't do. They put the altar cloth on top of it. This is actually my altar surface. I'm going to get it closer so you can see right here I have witches' runes burnt into the wood. And again on this side it says, "So mote it be." On the back it says, "In this place and in this hour I call upon the sacred power." It's my formerly charged altar surface. And I put it with the witch's rune up on the edges, and I set that right in the center. This is my working surface. Now, what is physically I consider my altar, it goes with me wherever I go. I've got these two fundamental pieces in my alcove, and I'm going to smudge again because everything's been packed up for a little while. And then I'll actually get about putting the rest of the things into my altar that I normally keep there. Now, I'm a big believer in keeping your daily altar a little bit more generic than your ritual altar. I don't see a lot of value in doing your personal altar to a set god. And again, see, it's already smoldering now. Okay. So, that done, I'm going to step off camera for just one moment and get my illuminators. Yeah, you slid. Alright. So, for my illuminators, I'm using a pair of Himalayan salt crystal tea light holders. Not only are these flames safe, so I can have them with my cats, but the salt adds that vibrational energy. So I'm putting those back as far as they'll go. And yes, even with the slanted roof, I feel safe having them there, because in the illuminators, I placed electric tea lights. Again, I'm of the opinion that if the ancients had had it, they would have used it. Now, the illuminator's in place. For my goddess representation, I'm using a spiral goddess. And I put her right in front of my pinnacle. I don't really know exactly what to use for a god figure. I have a piece of antler that I might use later, but because god statuary is so hard to come by, I'll likely be crafting one of those also. In the time being, since I was about 17, again, I've been using a crystal obelisk in place of a god representation. And the god goes to the right of the goddess. Next, onto my altar. And I know right now you say you're working behind your working surface. Yes, I am. Normally I would go vertically, have my god space, my workspace, but I can't do that here. So I'm kind of working in depth. Alright, so next things on my altar would be elemental representations. So this let me get a picture of it. there. And that was an abalone shell in sand. And that's where this will be at home. That is for fire and air. Next, you already saw it, my shell for water. But in addition to the shell, I don't normally keep these on my altar. I normally throw as needed. Right here. I might get another one of those wood stands for my water dish, just to, you know, balance it so they're the same height. For a salt dish, my formal salt dish is still sitting downstairs from when we had salad. I know, it was a little while ago, but it was moved into a bookcase. So, but aside from the salt dish, I use this to represent Earth. To me, it reminds me of Tintagel, Merlin's Crystal Cave. And so, it finds a home on my altar. One moment. So, I've got my little geodes, my little cut geode for Earth, the shell for water, the sand, abalone, and smudge stick for fire and air, my god and goddess, the illuminators. From where I left off, so I said that I left some things downstairs. I took advantage of the break, and I went down to collect my athame, my incense, my salt, and a couple of other little things. So, bear with me for just one moment while I get about what I was doing. So, let me step off camera again. One of the things that I retrieved from downstairs was my anointing oil. This is a perfume bottle. It has a tight lid so that I don't leak as much. Now, one of the reasons why I went to retrieve my anointing oil, smells fantastic, is to re-anoint my work surface. Since I keep my work surface separate from the rest of the altar, I give it different treatment. Now, you'll notice that my little perfume bottle has a wand, which is what I'm going to do. And dabble. I believe in using my hands because it gives it that extra oomph. I love the smell of this stuff. This particular anointing oil was made by the Silver Moon Crow Coven. It contains jojoba oil as the base oil. Then after the jojoba, it has lemon essential oil, orange essential oil, the sweet orange essential, and a few drops of cinnamon essential oil and a little bit of cedar. So it has the solar, lunar, love, and the spirit presence. But I'll be posting the actual recipe that I used for this batch on thesilvermooncrow.com. Okay, so back to the altar. Now, the next things I begin working on is my actual working surface. The working surface is going to have my cauldron, which I'm not afraid to get a little bit of anointing oil on. It's kind of due the course. Remember, all this had on it was salt water. Kind of reseasoning the cast iron. Now, normally for me, using metal on an altar is a no-no because I work with fairies. But I want to get my ritual stuff all out where it belongs. And I never put water in my cauldron, even though that's kind of what it's designed for. Because it is cast iron, it gets to be a little bit of a hassle reseasoning the metal every time you have a ritual. I will use alcohol in my cauldron, but most of the time I use it as like a thurible for my incense, or as an actual prop when calling the goddess. And that goes in the goddess-most corner. Next is my athame. This is actually the first ritual tool that I ever owned. Again, purchased for me by my father. I think I was 13 when he gave it to me. So, and yes, I'm putting oil on my athame. And then to rub it off, I'm going to use my shirt. Because I don't have any salt. At hand, anyways. Remember, I just moved. We use what we have. So, that's the blade. Back in its sheath. One way it locks, the other way it's loose. So I have to play with it. Notice it has like a hunt scene, stag and doe, male and female. And that goes in the god-most corner of my altar. Then, the next thing that goes on my altar, because remember, all of the ceremonial portions are in the back. You notice I don't have a god or goddess candle. That's because I have physical representation of them. This is, again, more salt. Which I do occasionally actually use in spell work, especially on the work surface. And then this is incense. It's dragon's blood and orange peel with a little bit of red cedar. Kind of like it. It's the mix that I use when I'm working in my Book of Shadows. Next, I'm actually going to put the anointing oil top center. See, I keep my work surface very straightforward, very to the point. Now, the next thing is a bell. Notice again, it's not metal. And I'm putting this off to the side over here on the goddess side. Because to me, the bell is like the womb. So I see it as a feminine symbol. Then my chalice, which in this case, it's a dollar store wine glass. It is glass. And I like it. My formal chalice actually got broken in the move, so I'm on the hunt. Now, for me, when I'm working on my altar, as the plate that I keep my cakes on, that changes. But for what actually goes in my chalice, I will use chamomile tea. Because it's floral, doesn't hinder my senses, it just works for me. You can use whatever works for you. Wine, water, anything. Now, notice I've got this stuff on the goddess side. I don't have a whole lot going on the god side of the altar. I don't have great representation of the god either. So, I'm putting a candle. As I said, I normally light my smudge from a candle. There is currently no candle in this. But, so, I maintain my balance. Next is, this is actually a fancy birthday candle. I got it from a cake shop. I got a whole box of them. Let's see where I threw it. Oh, right here. See, a whole box of them. I keep one on my altar at all times because I will light this, and then I'll use it to light any other candles that I'm working with. Reduces the need for the ritual Bic. It also reduces the need for the sulfur that comes from the matches themselves. So for this, I'm actually placing this over here, opposite the candle on my god side of the altar. And then the last thing that I'm placing on my very simple altar is a candle. This is a black candle that I hand poured. Now, it's kind of hard to explain why I keep a patchouli scented black candle on my altar. It has something to do with the way I work with fairies. Now, you might say, fairies, shouldn't you have a pink candle? Green? Black is really the best color for me to work with. I've got herbs in here, and before I light it, I anoint it with more patchouli oil. So, now some of you might be familiar with the concept of a Wiccan candle. I'm not too terribly familiar with it. To me, it's a hearth candle, and that's the purpose that my black candle serves for me. It works as a hearth candle, a spirit candle, and a general charging force on my altar. So, as you see, it's very simple, very straightforward. It still gives me a lot of room to move, a lot of room to grow. I don't keep a Book of Shadows on my altar because, for me, a Book of Shadows, this is a Tree of Life book. The Tree of Life holds important symbolism to me. But if I wanted to, say to charge it, I told you I'm using my Book of Shadows incense right now. I could just place it right here. Or on the masculine side. But I don't actually ever keep my Book of Shadows on the altar. To me, it is disrespectful to the nature of hidden knowledge to leave it out where people can see it, or might happen to pick it up. Because what is in your Book of Shadows is very personal to you. So it goes back in my underwear drawer. Now, of course, it's not going to live in my underwear. It just is hanging out there temporarily. Now, there are all kinds of things that you can say to charge your altar once you have it all set up. So, but for me, this is just the essentials. You notice that by putting my pentacle against the back wall, I can line anything on my altar up with it, rather than placing it on it. So it just, I'll post a still shot of it. I'll take a picture and so up close so you guys can all see how the end result looks. And for right now, What else am I missing? Right now, I think I'm going to pause. I'm going to interrupt this filming, and I'm going to get what I need together for a quick altar devotional, and we'll end there. So, I'll be right back. Welcome back. I know, I was the one that left. Don't worry. So, in anticipation of altar devotion, now, this is just going through the paces. The actual process of an altar devotional should be your one-on-one time with your altar. I do not, by any extent of the imagination, encourage people to do it with a camera running or anything that could have them otherwise self-conscious. So, my igniter, the ritual Bic. In this case, I'm using real candles in my illuminators. There are those. Now, nifty trick. It holds it upright and catches the wax so that I have access to it if I need it. Now, like I stated before, I use tea. It's cool enough not to break the glass. Yeah, I'm a little messy with it for it. But, again, with the handy dandy washcloth. And I'm using a pre-made cake because I have them for my work lunches. This is a raspberry crumb cake. And because it's in paper, it's not going on a saucer. And then the next thing is get a fish out. My patchouli oil. I collect a fair amount of essential oils because I use them for just about everything. Now, when I anoint a candle that is in glass or in a jar, I always go around the wick in the form of a pentacle. So my pentagram is drawn on the candle. And then, in addition to anointing the wax, I anoint the wick itself. And it's patchouli. So, kind of like the way it smells. And now for this particular candle, you can use anything that appeals to you. For me, I use earthy things. The candle is filled with actual patchouli herb and roses because I feel that it connects me to the earth and the earth spirits. once everything is lit, I move my igniter candle in its little vase, its little bud base, back into the cauldron because it keeps me from bumping it and knocking it. Also, extra reassurance to keep the wax off me. Lord Lady, this altar I do consecrate as sacred space, by earth, air, fire, and water. So mote it be. Very simple. You don't have to be flowery, you don't have to be dramatic. So, normally I would sit and I would meditate with my altar. But for right now, I'm just making my offering. I have 3 pennies that are going in the cauldron. My crumb cake. And the earth, the grains and flour, flowers, cake. So I have little. May I always remember that there are those who have less. And what it is. As the asame is to the male, so the chalice is to the female. And as they are joined in this symbolic act, so too are they joined in truth. And again, you want to wipe any moisture off your blade before you put it back in the sheet. But cakes anyhow. Remember not to partake of the whole thing. You are leaving part of it for the spirits. And I always mess up the order on cakes and then my drink. Now, because I neglected to bring a candle snuffer upstairs, and I do have one, a really cute little dragon one that I can use. Never blow out any candle that is on your altar. even one as simple as my igniter. By snuffing them, you are trapping that energy rather than scattering it to the four winds. So I'm going to leave the rest of my candles to burn. I'm going to take another still picture of my altar. And again, this is Eka with the Silver Moon Crow Coven. I really appreciate your time while I floundered about this video, and blessed be.